It began with a single banknote, a simple piece of currency, one that usually circulates quietly between pockets, shops, and markets, unexpectedly ignited one of South Asia's most sensitive geopolitical disputes. When Nepal unveiled a new 100-rupee note featuring a revised national map. The design did far more than update a piece of paper. It reopened old wounds, intensified diplomatic tensions, and revived centuries-long questions of land, identity, and national sovereignty. What looked like a routine currency redesign quickly escalated into a high-stakes territorial conflict between two countries that share open borders, deep cultural ties, and a long history of unresolved disagreements. Nepal's central bank recently introduced a redesigned 100-rupee banknote. While the aesthetic changes were minor, the map printed on its left side sparked widespread controversy. The new map includes the regions of Kalapani, Lipulekh, and Limpiyadhura, mountainous territories positioned in the far west of the Himalayan borderlands and long disputed between India and Nepal. Nepali officials described the map as an assertion of the country's historic claims. But within hours of the note's release, reactions surged across Indian media and political circles. Indian commentators viewed the depiction as a deliberate attempt by Nepal to formalize a territorial claim on areas that India maintains are firmly within its jurisdiction. The territories portrayed on the revised currency site near the tri-junction between India, Nepal, and China, within the strategically sensitive Himalayan range. Kalapani, a valley area controlled by India since the 1962 India-China War. India uses it as a key security point facing Tibet. Lipulekh Pass, a high-altitude route used by India for military logistics, and also valued as a trade corridor with China. Limpiyadhura, claimed by Nepal as the origin of the Kali River, which is the historical boundary marker under the 1816 Sugauli Treaty. Both countries reference different historical maps and treaties to justify their claims. India bases its argument on administrative control and long-term deployment in the region. Nepal's position relies heavily on older cartographic records, suggesting that the river defining the border begins further northwest than India's interpretation. Currency is more than a financial instrument, it is a political statement. When a country prints a map on its banknotes, it expresses what it considers to be its legitimate national geography. By placing the disputed territories on the new 100-rupee note, Nepal effectively signaled its intent to reinforce its territorial claim through official state symbols. For India, this move was viewed as an escalation. Indian officials expressed strong disapproval, interpreting Nepal's action as a unilateral attempt to shift an ongoing diplomatic process. The reaction in Indian media circles ranged from anger to disbelief, with many commentators accusing Nepal of inflaming tensions at a moment when the region is already navigating complex geopolitical changes involving China. The border dispute between Nepal and India is not new. Its roots stretch back more than 200 years, anchored in the 1816 Treaty of Sugauli, signed between Nepal and the British East India Company. According to the treaty, lands east of the Kali River would belong to Nepal, while those west would fall under British India. The trouble is that the source of the Kali River, its exact point of origin, has long been interpreted differently by the two sides. Nepal argues that Limpiyadhura is the true source, extending its territory northwest. India maintains that the river begins further southeast, which places Kalapani and surrounding areas within Indian borders. Over decades, the dispute simmered quietly, largely overshadowed by strong cultural ties and open borders that allow citizens to travel freely between the two nations. In recent years, geopolitical shifts have revived old grievances. In 2019, India unveiled a new national map following the reorganization of Jammu and Kashmir. Nepal objected after discovering that India's revised map continued to place Kalapani within Indian borders. Tensions escalated again in 2020 when India inaugurated a strategic road through Lipulekh Pass to facilitate faster military movement toward the China border. Nepal reacted sharply, arguing that the road was built on territory it considered its own. In response, Nepal published its own updated political map, including all three disputed regions, Kalapani, Lipulekh, and Limpiyadhura, triggering strong diplomatic protests from New Delhi. The new 100 rupee note now embeds that disputed map into everyday circulation. The timing of the banknote's release adds to its significance. South Asia is undergoing major geopolitical shifts, with China expanding economic influence across the Himalayas and India attempting to maintain strategic dominance in the region. Nepal's growing economic reliance on China complicates matters further. China's Belt and Road Initiative includes multiple Nepal-based infrastructure projects. India accounts for 2/3 of Nepal's trade and nearly all its fuel supplies. Border areas are increasingly militarized due to India-China tensions since 2020. Any change in Nepal's political stance affects not just bilateral relations but broader regional power dynamics. The banknote also reflects internal political pressures within Nepal. Nationalist sentiment has been rising in recent years, especially among younger voters who view border disputes as symbols of sovereignty. Political leaders across party lines have competed to take firm stances on territorial issues, making concessions politically risky. The new banknote, therefore, plays a dual role, an assertion to the world and a political signal to citizens within Nepal. India's response has been sharply critical. Government officials described the new currency as unnecessarily provocative and detrimental to resolving disputes through dialogue. Analysts in India argued that Nepal's move risked hardening positions and could slow down diplomatic negotiations that both countries claim to support. Indian strategic commentators also warned that printing contested maps on currency could influence domestic public opinion in ways that make compromise increasingly difficult. The dispute could impact joint projects, trade, and border management cooperation. Both countries rely heavily on one another. Over 8 million Nepalis live or work in India. India is Nepal's largest trading partner. Nepal depends on India for over 90% of its petroleum supply. India relies on Nepal for hydropower cooperation and Himalayan security coordination. A prolonged diplomatic freeze could disrupt these interdependencies. Nepal's new 100 rupee note may seem like a minor piece of paper, but it symbolizes far more: a struggle over history, geography, sovereignty, and national identity. While both nations publicly emphasize friendship and cooperation, the map printed onto the banknote has revived a dispute that lies at the very heart of their shared border. Whether this episode becomes a brief flare-up or the start of deeper tension will depend on how leaders in New Delhi and Kathmandu navigate the delicate balance between national pride and regional stability.